Are you serious? Are you serious? Everybody get some coffee and calm down. What? Well, a gift from the gods or a extraterrestrial delivery. What happened is King Tut, some of you remember the famous boy king of Egypt who died at a tender age of 19 but was known as a tremendous warrior. Researchers say when they found his tomb in 1925, when Howard Carter found it there in the Valley of the Kings, that it was unbelievable. It's priceless, beyond even ability to even estimate how much gold, silver, precious stones, and artifacts and paintings and his golden sarcophagus, his mummy, all the things he had, all the weapons he had. Incredible. But something very strange has never, ever, no one could figure out, is this dagger, iron dagger that had a golden sheath and a golden handle with a crystal ball on the end of it. Where did he get it? Because the time he died, iron had not even been discovered. No one was making iron tools at all. They had no ability to do that yet. Not for another 1,000 years. So where did he get an iron dagger buried with him on his thigh? Well, researchers say that King Tut's dagger was made from a meteorite. The material was. The iron blade was of an ordnate dagger buried with King Tut in the 14th century BC, likely came from a fallen meteorite, according to new studies. In 1925, 3 years after discovering King Tut's largely intact tomb in the Valley of the Kings near Luxor, the English archaeologist Howard Carter found 2 daggers hidden in the folds of the material wrapped around the mummy of Pharaoh of Egypt. In the wrappings of King Tut's body, on Tut's right thigh, he found an iron blade with a decorated gold handle ending in a round crystal knob, encased in an ordnate gold sheath decorated in a pattern of feathers and lilies, and the head of a jackal. What? The second blade found near King Tut's abdomen was of pure gold. Now, the iron dagger, though, instantly attracted attention from the archaeologists because the iron was still relatively unheard of in the Bronze Age. They hadn't made it yet. They didn't know how to do it yet. It was considered even more valuable than the gold, though ancient Egypt was rich in mineral resources like copper and bronze, and gold were in use since the 4th millennium of BC. The earliest references to iron smelting would have been in the Nile Valley, dated way much later, during the very first millennium, about 1,000 years later. And most archaeologists agreed that the handful of iron objects that had been found in King Tut's tomb were probably produced from a meteorite metal, a substance that the Egyptians would have said would called iron from the sky, or maybe would have even referred to it as the gift from the gods, certainly of extraterrestrial origin. Matter of fact, earlier in examinations of the iron dagger found in King Tut's tomb in 1970, and again when it was investigated more into it in 1990s, they probed the possibility that its blade came from a meteorite. Their findings were inconclusive, though, very controversial at best. Recently, however, a team of Italian and Egyptian researchers took advantage of some new technology, specifically a technique called portable X-ray fluorescent spectrometry. They used this technique to take another look at the iron blade of King Tut, the dagger. And according to their findings published in the journal Meteorites and Planetary Science, the blade's composition of iron and nickel and cobalt strongly suggests this was of an extraterrestrial origin. What? What's more, it is nearly identical to the composition of a meteor found in a seaport city 150 miles west of the city of Alexandria Egypt. Now, researchers from Polytech University of Milan, the University of Pisa in Italy, and the Egyptian Museum in Cairo led the new study, which compared the iron of the blade found in King Tut's tomb with 11 meteorites that fell within the radius of 1,250 miles. They made of mostly iron, about 10.8% of nickel and 0.58% cobalt. The blade matched up closely with this meteorite, which was discovered in the year 2000, but still not exactly. And in 2009, a separate study found that the oldest Egyptian iron artifact known to man was some little iron beads that dated 3200 BC. That would have been 1,600 years before King Tut was buried with his iron dagger on his right thigh. Now you might say, well, this is just, it had to have been a meteorite. And yes, nobody knew how to make iron, but somebody somewhere in the world had figured it out. And this was the only iron at that time that they could use. And it's mystical. It's kind of really strange, but it's going to be okay. There's nothing to see here. Well, I think there is. And we have to look at this from a spiritual standpoint as well as a physical and a scientific standpoint. Jesus Christ is coming back on a white horse. And according to the Bible, he's coming back with inscribed on his thigh, his name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Okay? And he is coming riding on the clouds of glory with his name inscribed on his thigh. Now, this is very important because it means as he's riding his, we look at it a lot of times, we see this as the prayer shawl, the fringes of his prayer shawl being about thigh high when he's riding on a horse. But this has brought up another thought, another whole thing to look at, because we understand that the right thigh was a place where sometimes kings would keep a dagger, okay? And a lot of times they would keep their identification there. Maybe it was some type of a strap, okay, or different ways that the dagger would be held there. But it was also, that dagger had a lot to do with the representation of the individual, okay, an identification, I should say. So that was very, very strange. And so it's very crazy what's going on. Then, after that was all said and done, we also know that Jacob wrestled with an angel. And when he wrestled with an angel all night long, he had a supernatural encounter with an extraterrestrial, an angel, and it knocked out his thigh out of place. So the King Tut, why did he have this strange extraterrestrial weapon, thigh, on his right thigh? We'll be back to talk about more about this. Thank you for being a member of our Patreon channel. I'll be back with more in just a moment.